Hi, this is Shweta Srivatsan, parent advocate at Not That Different, an initiative by Bukosmia. And today we are here yet again to spotlight another autistic talent. Today we are going to spotlight Ramam. Ramam is 23 years old. He's currently acquiring skills to be a baker, data entry operator, and a cook. He practices yoga regularly. He plays badminton, TT, and basketball. He also swims, skates, and cycles, and he runs marathons. Ramam has won medals in the Special Olympics, first and second place in Florida, in county and area levels in tennis. He's tried his hand at various water sports like rafting, snorkeling, parasailing, and jet skiing. He enjoys drumming, trekking, camping, traveling, eating outside, listening to music, watching travel vlogs, and cooking shows. And he loves the nature. His sister Isha supports him in ways that she can. And today, I'm very delighted to have with us Mr. Rajmohan, Ramam's father. Mr. Rajmohan retired as a colonel from the Indian Army and is now heading IT infrastructure at Titan Company. Ramam recently ran a 21K marathon for the Titan, a marathon that was organized by Titan Industries. And Mr. Rajmohan will be, shedding some light on Ramam's journey with running and how he was able to discover Ramam's interest in running and take that forward. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this, Mr. Rajmohan. Welcome.
Thanks, Shweta. My pleasure.
As we understand, running is a very big deal. Running a marathon is a very big deal. Completing 21K is a very big deal, right? Requires a lot of practice, requires a lot of consistency, requires a lot of perseverance to be able to do it. And now into this mix, if we add in sensory differences, right, it's just going to make it, all the more a commendable feat. Yet here we have Ramam, who has all these sensory differences, but who actually completed a 21K run recently. So could you, share a few things about Ramam's journey with running? And as a parent, how did you discover that running is something that interested Ramam? And how did you build on his skills and his strengths in order to be able to achieve this?
Sure, Shweta. So yeah, running a half marathon is not easy. Not easy for anybody, any normal person as well. And he did that in, I think it was his first one, in 2 hours, 45 minutes or 47 minutes thereof. Wow. So that is, and he ran almost non-stop throughout, except for the hydration breaks that we had. And so, yeah, he surprised me. And it's today he's here, but the journey started about 5 years back in 2018. And at that point in time, he was actually not even jogging or running to that extent. We used to go for walks for sure, but he would not run. And while we would play basketball a little bit between, just two of us and make him run that length of court, it was never a long distance run. And that is when one of my classmates, he is in Belgaum, he's a doctor, and he organized a marathon in Belgaum. And then it became an event for all our classmates to get together. Mm-hmm. So he invited everybody and said, let's all get together. And he said, we'll encourage you. And many of my classmates are settled around in that part of the state. So I just signed up for a 10K. And I said, let me bring him along and let's all go and let's have a family time. In fact, I think my wife and daughter also signed up, but they signed up for a 5K. So it was more like a get-together that we would attend. And let's see how it goes. So, and about 3 months before that, I realized how important it is to set a target, So now that I'd set it, then I started by going to Decathlon, buying him the gear and exciting him about it, showing him some videos about running, which are there available on YouTube. So, and bought him a good pair of tracksuit, t-shirt. So it just built that excitement, and every morning kind of remind him that there are now 80 days, 90 days left, 89 days left, like that. And so we started walking initially, then slowly told him to start just, jogging. So they get it, but they don't communicate like all of us.
Yes.
And so it becomes a little challenging to understand whether he's got the grasp that he's got to do this.
Yes. Yes.
And initially, so we started, then he started about 100 meters, we started 200 meters, and that running around the society.
Mm.
It was, how do you make it fun? So associated a few things apart from the clothing, etc. After the run, we used to go out and have a nice breakfast.
Mm.
Or if the run is nice, very good, then evening we'll have a get together.
Mm.
Bought some things like Gatorade and all, which were all like motivators, right?
Yeah.
Doing this.
Mhm.
And so we kept doing that. And we used to walk up the steps in the building.
Um,
And I think the longest practice run would have been some 5K that we did before I went. We all traveled to Belgaum.
mhm.
And there we have my classmates. So we all had a good evening get together. So we had kind of met everybody. And the next day was a run. So now everybody was, you know, rooting for him. And and most of my age group people, they're also walkers. They're not really runners. So they all
Mhm.
came for being part of the thing. And so they were all saying, come on, Ram, damn good and all that. And this guy just took off, in fact, I had to kind of catch up with him. And he completed that first 10K in about 1 hour, 5 minutes, or
Wow.
1 hour, 6. All the excitement that is. So a run is very beautifully organized with a lot of entertainment in between. You have these FM radio people there. There are local artists performing. There are drummers. There are good hydration points which are along the route. So
Mhm.
there's some good get there. And towards the end, you have a nice breakfast and things like that. But he wouldn't know the end. But the
Right.
process was all very exciting for him. He was looking left, right, and he
Mm.
was okay. Only thing is, as he would initial runs, he would hold my cheeks when it becomes very difficult, or
Mhm.
he would try to walk, and I would tell him, no, no, come on, little more.
Mm.
And when it's running, typically if you become breathless, you
Mm.
tend to kind of give up and stop.
True.
Right. So that is the time when someone tells you, come on, little more.
Mm.
And then the breathlessness kind of settles and you
Mm.
begin to be okay. So having been in the military and doing a lot of this, at least I know how it feels,
Yes.
to the other person. And so I would say, you don't walk, you
Mm.
just keep running, but be as slow. So sometimes it was tough because he would literally hold me and I had to run along with him.
Mm.
So it's not very easy to do that. And you are not as fit or young as well. And but I kept going, and because my classmates were there and this whole platform, we kept pulling it off. And once he did the whole thing, then he realized he got a medal, which is standard practice. You get a medal and you get a good breakfast after that. Everybody
Mm.
appreciating him,
Mm.
asking for selfies with him and all that. He realized that this is a damn nice, good
Yeah. I
thing.
mean, yeah.
So he associated it with some good, memories.
Yes.
So that's how it started. And every year this marathon has been happening because he conducts it, and we all travel, and it has become more and more interesting. So afterwards, my family, I mean, wife and kid,
Mm.
wife, daughter coming, or they don't come always, but we travel. So there are a lot of other things associated with the whole thing. So that's how it started. It's like any other run. You have to pace it. You have to, settle down.
Yes.
It's only now he's actually running at a pace. Otherwise, he would run very fast and then he would
Mm.
stop or he would walk.
Mm.
And it was very difficult for me to, catch up with him or manage that change
True.
in the rhythm.
True.
So
I think
now
even the understanding, right? The sensory understanding that, I mean, you cannot just shoot off when you're running long distance. It's not like running 100 meters where you're like, running fast and before you know it's over, right? This requires a lot of consistency. So you obviously cannot just dash off. You will not sustain if, yeah, right.
Right. So initially, when you're fit or at the beginning of the run, there is a tendency, if you don't know how long it's going to be, that you speed up. So I had to hold him and say, cool down it. Okay, there is a long way to go, etc. But now he has started pacing himself pretty well. He has understood how to run at a slow pace,
Mhm.
which was a challenge initially.
Yes.
He would also run towards the edge of the road, thereby
Mhm.
touching the culvert and then kind of losing his.
Mhm.
And I would be worried he will twist his ankle if he's
Right.
towards the edge. Or some
Mhm.
fixation would, maybe he finds a line or whatever, he would
Mhm.
run along. edge.
Hmm.
Things like that. But other than that, fine. Secondly, when somebody comes in front of him, he would not know
Hmm.
and how to tell, excuse me or whatever. So he'll just go and start jogging in behind the person, and the person wonders why he's not going. So now
Somebody
he's
is
understood.
literally chasing me. Yeah.
He'll navigate the person.
Hmm.
The other challenge I found was in the hydration points. So he'd love to drink water and he
Hmm.
would love to have as much. And if you do that, you can't run. So initial runs, that was very challenging. I
Hmm.
had to literally restrict him, and everybody is trying to be nice to him by telling him, no, 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 let him have.
Hmm.
And you tell him, no, it's a problem. You don't do it.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So
right.
yes. Hmm.
So that's how it happened.
Quite a journey, I must say, right? For somebody who, I think it's been a lot of learning as well. I mean, if you think about it, right? Sensorially, being able to understand that you cannot dash through, the entire thing because it's a long distance to run. To understand that you have to, I don't know, maybe stick to a lane and not go too close to the marking at the side, no matter how, inviting that seems or gives a sense of structure in your head, the existence of that line. And to kind of remind the discipline, to kind of remind yourself that yes, maybe you've been running, you're thirsty, but then if you just drink up a lot of water, then you're obviously not going to be able to run, right? And then have the perseverance to see this through all the way. I mean, 10 kilometers is also a lot of run for a layman like me who's never ran. I mean, 10 kilometers is also a lot. So I think starting that way from where he did, and doing an entire 21K run, I think it's amazing, right? I mean, it's truly, amazing. And the last time that we were having a conversation, we kind of touched base about this, right? For Ramam, running is not just running; it's more than that. It's kind of an opportunity where he gets to be around a lot of neurotypical people in his own way. I think socialize with neurotypical people and build bonds with the larger world, right? And that's amazing. That's beautiful. Of course, I mean, there is the skill of running. Of course, there's a, satisfaction of having, completed a run. And of course, the satisfaction of having been successful and the confidence that it builds. But then there's also the other aspect, the social aspect to this. So do you just want to, talk about that? Our viewers would love to know about that.
Yeah, sure. So since he doesn't have any friends or like we would have, and what this gave to me at least was that feeling that all my classmates began to associate with him, and
Hmm.
because we have a get together before the event and the
Hmm.
solid get together afterwards, where we are all joking around and all, and he would participate. There was a time when he actually everybody was asked to sing by turn, and it was his turn, and I mean, everybody said, come, come, and
Hmm.
he actually sang. And there were some of my colleagues who had tears in their eyes because they never hear him talk.
Yeah.
And to hear him sing and being excited, the whole gang got very emotional about it.
Hmm.
So that part is great, and that association has continued. Everybody knows him now.
Hmm.
Now, apart from that, see, the whole preparation, it teaches you a lot of skills, or it forces a lot of discipline
Hmm.
in being able to pull this off. For example, this 21K, which was done by my company, which is an annual event my company does,
Hmm.
is in a place, Hosur, which is a little away from here.
Hmm.
And the kickoff was at around 5:30 a.m.
Hmm.
because it's a long run and you start before the sun rises,
Yes.
right? Now imagine if he has to reach there at 5:30, we have to leave home by about 4:30, and
Yes.
he's got to do all his morning stuff well so
Hmm.
that you're comfortable during the run,
True.
right? So all that becomes huge. You start at around 3 in the morning, you wake up, you
Yes.
prepare in previous night, the diet you prepare so that you ensure that has his motions well, and he's prepared. And I would set up his dress, all his chest numbers, it's done.
Hmm.
I mean, we are kind of, at least I would underestimate. On the day of the event, he's a beauty. He'll just get up at 3 a.m. if I wake him
Hmm.
up.
Hmm.
Though I've done the preparation, it's always amazing to see how he does that. And so he'll get up and get ready. Even the one I did at National Defense Academy,
Hmm.
I'm an alumni of that institute. So we had to get into the gate by 5 a.m. because of the security concerns, being a defense establishment.
True.
And so the whole team was going by bus. There were 45 of my batchmates. And I was whole night, I was worried if this guy delays, they leave us and go, and there's no way for us.
True.
Right. So I told him be on time and all that. But morning he gets ready, he gets there. So that is one part of it. And in each of this, there are a lot of people associated. Now, before you start the run, there is a warm-up exercise, Zumba and things like that. So people are dancing, jumping, and nobody bothers how you are or not. So you will find him also participating on all of that. So he gets excited right from the beginning and associated with everybody. If we have to travel to a different place, we went to Pune, just two of us. We went to, Vijaypura, which is Bijapur, and we traveled by train, and there have been times where we've celebrated within the train. It was my birthday, and my friends had brought in a cake. So he's just watching all this. He's part of this whole thing. Otherwise, he would not get that experience. And it releases the stress on you because you have other people to take care, right? So you can not worry about it. So after that, train travel has become, doable. And when we go and stay, in a room, for example, your classmates just land up and then they come and they say, my room is not there, but Raj, I'll just sleep here.
Yes.
And you never had a outsider in your room, and how worried is bathroom and other things, restroom, how does he handle it? But then it forces you to be disciplined. He also behaves, and you can manage the environment. So it's a lot of good exposure, interacting with a number of people socially. And I think now he looks forward to, all of this. Everybody knows him. And it's been a good, in that way, it's been a great journey.
Yeah, see, I think it's amazing you brought this point, right? Right from the time that our children are diagnosed in their early childhood, oftentimes, many of us parents have fallen into this trap, right? We believe our child needs to be in a mainstream kind of a setup, a mainstream school, whether it makes sense for our child or not, whether our child will be able to sensorially adjust to this place or not, or whether our child will be able to, meet the learning requirements or not, because, hey, you know what, that's the only way our child gets to socialize with the neurotypical world, right? But, oftentimes I believe that is a wrong notion, because, an educational institution, putting a child into a mainstream educational institution, a child who is not ready for it, only because you want the child to socialize with, the world at large, with the neurotypical world at large, is certainly not the way to be. First of all, it's so structured. We have classes after classes after classes. And without support, this child will not necessarily be able to relate to anybody else in the class, right? Socialization and being able to associate and relate to the neurotypical world is such an organic thing. I think it just begins with the environment around us, not necessarily something, that should be forced by sending a child to a setup, to an educational setup. This kind of socialization can happen, with our neighbors, within our community, or, with our own friends. Oftentimes, when our child gets diagnosed with autism, and then we realize that our child behaves very differently when they are in front of others, when they are in front of other people, we also, at some point, a lot of us are guilty of this. We tend to start avoiding, social events. We tend to start avoiding meeting up with our friends. And even if we have to, we only do it in situations where we don't have to take our child along. But I think, what we don't realize is that if we prepare our child enough, those are probably the best kind of setups for our children to get, perfect exposure to the neurotypical world, right? To the world at large. And that is something they absolutely deserve, because that's something they don't get growing up. The kind of friendship, the kind of bonding, that we have through our childhood, through adolescence, through young adulthood, the kind of bonding that we have and the kind of friendship, that's something our children never get to experience, right? And just because they cannot express, or just because they cannot initiate that kind of a friendship or a relationship, it doesn't mean they don't want it. Right. So, I mean, it's amazing, if you think about it, I think with Ramam, it's not just one skill of running, but it's been such a organic, development that's actually this whole process of running, I think, has helped him in a lot of different aspects, not just running, right? And not just sensory discipline, but I think just, a whole lot of learning, which just happens very organically along the way. And soon, it becomes something that is fun to do. So, it's probably something Ramam will look forward himself, because he wants to do it, right? He enjoys all the experience that's associated with it. I think that probably is like, the most beautiful thing. So, so what's next for Ramam? Does he have any plans of running a full marathon, the entire 42 kilometers?
Yeah, so now it's reached a point where, it's more about me than about him in terms of being able to, match up. So far, I've been his whatever partner in these activities.
Mhm.
And I'm not sure if I can pull off, but if we set our target, I think we will, and we should target one. But I've been considering, I mean, there's a need to get in a running buddy who can be maybe more closer to his age group, because sometimes I feel I'm also restricting him when he's running. At times he's at a very good pace. Like this 21K, first 3-4 kilometers, he ran so beautifully. I was worried. I said, maybe after 10, if he wants to walk, we'll walk. And but then he pulled it off. Now, so maybe if he runs with a running buddy, he would be, far better. And I need to find that activity. And but as of now, no thoughts like that. And it's never been about trying to achieve something. It started off somewhere, and since my company had a 21K, and then the fact that it was all my colleagues, and there is a very good support system there, I knew that if I have a problem, within very quickly I'll get support there. It's only a company event. It's not a huge event like a Bangalore marathon or something like that. And people are aware of him because he's been running that event also every year. In fact, the MD brought him on stage once and felicitated him. So my MD is a very good runner himself. He does full marathons. So therefore, the team, everybody knows him, And I said, this is the best opportunity to give that a try. Because if in a regular marathon, there might be issues. So this is more controlled environment, and I would be able to pull it off. And it worked. So putting a target, then you will achieve it. But I have not really, thought of it so much because my own knees and all are begin to hurt. I don't know stretching it beyond a point, because it's not about that one day of doing it. We can if we sign up. But the fact is that you have to practice regularly, at least for about 2-3 months, and then slowly get to a point where you can do at least 35-40 before you go for the full marathon. So it's those 3-4 months of intense activity you've got to mentally align. That I've not thought of. I'm immediately now switching gears like all my batchmates, and we are going for a trek. Actually, tomorrow morning we are off for a mountain trek in the Himalayas. It's my first. It's my first with him, and so we're going to sleep in tents, and we're going to trek up to a reasonable height, and it's going to be sub-zero temperature as well. So this will be the first for him to experience that. And while my friends have seen him, during a run, which is some duration of time, to stay for 4 days, and how to move as a team will become critical, and how he is able to not, match up. But I've just thrown him. They know him very well, so it's a small team. We have, fortunately, there's one doctor amongst us, so there is that much more less. But I have, I'm not so sure, though. We have to see how the whole thing goes. So that's the immediate thing. I'm leaving tomorrow, and we'll be off for about a week, 10 days, and the trek is about 4 days. So trekking is something I'm thinking of, making it more mainstay, because again, it's nature. And somehow when he's outside, I find him far more at peace. And I sometimes don't even realize that there is something special about him, except for communicating and things like that. Whereas in the home, when there are gadgets, TVs, and in rigid environments, like you mentioned, in classes, etc., they struggle because there are so many issues they want to react to, but they can't. And therefore they get bolted and they become very extreme. But in such scenario, he just laughs. He's so happy, and you are at such peace. I mean, traveling by air, going, in a train, and all of that is not easy. And if you keep holding back, Today he wouldn't have been able to do it, right? But
Absolutely.
today I have no worries. I have no worries about his flying, which the first time we did was, terrible
Yes.
experience.
Yeah, totally.
So
Yeah.
you have to step in and do. This trip is going to teach a lot of new things. I don't know how it will work out, because there will be long road travels in the hills. Then there is, you're on by yourself, and
Yes.
he shouldn't be drinking too much water when he's trekking, and he won't get it. So all that I've been trying to brief him. He has seen enough YouTube videos. He's excited. We've gone to Decathlon, bought lots of gears and warm clothing, etc., gloves and various other stuff. So yeah, so treks is what I'm thinking next, because it just suits my health a little more
Right.
and than running. But maybe a full marathon for sure at some point, and continue, because 10K gives you decent physical and mental thing. After that, it's more of a mental ability to hold on
Mm.
and continue to do it. My boss, for example, he's returned from Everest Base Camp, but he
Mm.
was telling me the other day, I ran 3 and I don't think running is for me. So I told him it's the mind which gives up, it's not your body. Body has done the Everest Base Camp and you're
Mm.
good, but it's the mind which gives up, and you feel okay. And once you start giving up and walking, and that's what happens.
Yes.
So yeah, let's see what the future holds. And it's just about each event and being happy as long as we are around to see that you give as best an experience as possible. As the dynamics change and things happen, we may or may not be able to do that. There's no point preparing for a great day. Already 23 years have gone. How is his life that has been for those 23 years, right? So while most of us, I think, are looking for vocational training and various other aspects, which he has to do, which is now picking up. But life is also spent like this, right?
Absolutely. Yes.
And being part of various things, and at least you will be happy that 25, 30, 40 years, whatever, he had a decent, good exposure to life.
Yes. Absolutely.
So look forward for such of these events, and however, wherever it comes, we will all just tag along and see. As long as we're fit, we move on.
No, I think, see, I mean, it's amazing, right? Unless you try something, how would you know that this will work or this will not work? And just because, our children aren't communicative enough, like a neurotypical of their age, we cannot assume that they are not understanding the inputs that we are giving them. Um, and we cannot assume that they do not have the mental strength to pull it off. If you think about it, I think the kind of journey that they've had since their childhood, therapy after therapy, therapy after therapy, constantly pushing their boundaries. At a certain point, I think mentally they are way stronger than we are, right? I think at some point we just need to keep the faith and try it, because unless you try it, there's no way you can know, right? Yeah, I
Right.
mean, that's an amazing thought. And
There are a lot of learnings that will come along with it. For example, this trek, I made him fill the insurance form himself. So now there are a lot of entries. He's got to put his Aadhaar card number. He's got to put his date of birth, his phone number. So it's all application of knowledge.
yes.
There is a group which has been formed for this trekking. So people put photos, what all they're packing, etc. He's also begun to respond. A little bit of help from Viji on
Yes.
that. But he started realizing, getting associated with all of this.
Yes.
And so there are a lot of other things which will come, which are learnings also. So you don't have to be in a classroom setting for it. And you can't achieve it's step by step. There is still so many things we struggle with. We can't leave him independently. There are so many other things which we can keep looking at his, deficiencies in the normal world,
Mm.
but we're so happy that so many things are happening,
Exactly. Yes.
so
Yeah, I mean, you can
let's
always
see
look
where
at
it
the
ends.
deficits and, keep working at the deficits, but they will go only that far. But then you can also look at the strengths, also look at the things that they're able to do, and then, work on that, and they will be able to do so much more. And more than anything, I think it just makes them a lot more happier and a lot more confident, right? If they are also seeing success. So it was lovely talking to you, and thank you so much for giving us this time. And here's wishing Ramam all the best for the trek, and I'm sure he's going to thoroughly enjoy it. And this will also be another experience that's going to leave him with a lot of beautiful memories. So it was lovely talking to you again. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Shweta. It was nice just reliving some of those moments. And I kept taking pictures, but I never cataloged them. And because we had this conversation, I said, let me put some of that together. So it's helped in very, in ways. Thank you very much.
People need to see, people need to know, right? What people often hear, the larger neurotypical world hears, is of the million things that autistics cannot do. But what about the million things that they're doing, right? So I think, I'm so happy you shared all these lovely pictures with us, and we will be putting them at the appropriate places in the video. And again, here's wishing, all the best for your trek. Hope you have a lovely trip. Thank you.